Oxygen levels.
Oxygen levels are at maximum.
Set a course to dark waters now.
You see the UFO right here? This actually came off of NASA's product. I worked a picture. You can see it right here. You can see it right here. You can see it as it came down, and it came down just like that. Again, it's like a light ship, and then a UFO showed up. It's right there. It happened. It happened.
Interesting. It's almost like the blue light is connected to it. Like this UFO, this black image is like projecting something above it. But what exactly is it doing?
If you have 2 X's and 2 M's on the palm of your hand, stop scrolling. Dolores Cannon said this combination doesn't happen by accident. She said souls with double marks came here on a double mission. On one hand, for healing the self, and on the other hand, for awakening others. The X mark represents extreme intuition, and the M mark represents mastery of the mind. 2 X's and 2 M's mean your DNA carries both the teacher and the transformer code. The matrix can't control you because you operate on awareness plus action. You see through illusions and you can bend them. If you are one of the few with these marks, you were sent here to remind the world what it really is. Dolores Cannon said these souls arrived during the great shifts, like 2025.
So it's basically, if you have that M, you took the red pill.
Why is not a single person talking about the fact that on Epstein Island there is a temple used to worship Moloch? Out of all the demons in existence, this is the most disgusting one by a landslide. More people need to be aware of this because this is what's really happening behind closed doors, not some Ryan Garcia publicity stunt crap. This is what's actually happening. Moloch is the demon that specializes in and this is what these elites are all worshiping. They've been flying out to this island, getting together with their parties, going inside of this temple and performing rituals involved in what I just explained. By the way, guys, this is the exact same thing that's being worshipped during the red heifer rituals. Moloch is the demon of the cow or bull. That's the image it represents. And I want you guys to really understand this. People in Israel have been worshiping Moloch forever. It's talked about even in Leviticus 18:21. Let me clarify. It has been happening so long that it is even mentioned in the Bible, and the Bible tells us not to sacrifice or give to Moloch. This is how common it is and how long it's been happening. The whole Epstein files, Epstein listing, it will always come back to this, and you guys can maybe not believe me now, but you are my witness on this. Once the rest of these files come out, it is all going to relate back to that temple and worship for Moloch.
Someone said this is why there's a bull in front of the financial district in New York. Not for the markets, BS, but symbolic for Moloch. Oh yeah? Let's find it. Let's type it in and see what comes up. Wow, there it is. I did not know that there was this giant bull there.
So we run across a video of an ex-witch talking about different things that are actually demonic. Check out some of the things that she said.
Things that are actually demonic from an ex-witch. I see a lot of scaremongering going on in Christianity about so many things being demonic that in my opinion really are not. So as always, from my perspective, my opinion and my life, I'm going to tell you exactly what led me into witchcraft and what you need to stay away from. And believe me, some of these things you'd have no idea about. Absolutely anything that tries to tell your future. Anything. Even if something as stupid as those little 8 balls. Me personally, I started really understanding my gift of future by using tools like playing cards and things like that. If you come across something that tries to tell you what your future is that is not of God. And actually it's on a mission to deter you from God's plan. Alcohol, the biggest one, without a doubt, alcohol. There is a demon named alcohol. This demon talks about the absence of the soul, removing the soul from the body, and then allowing a demon to inhabit the body. Every single time in my past that I had a drink, I would be spiritually attacked to the next level. And even my friends as well, you know, if you have a hangover, it's more than just a hangover, isn't it? You literally want to exit the earth. Alcohol is without a doubt one of the most demonic things on the planet. Could also argue that's why a lot of it is called spirit. Wine I feel slightly different about, obviously, is mentioned in the Bible quite a lot. Anything that leads you to intoxication or that you are not in control of your own body, demonic. This goes for a lot of medications as well. I'm not going to speak too deeply on that because, you know, free speech and all. Anything that makes you feel like you are not in control of your own body, demonic doorway. Forms of thought control, and you'll be surprised at this. Absolutely anything or anyone that tries to prevent you from thinking, asking questions, delving into things. The people in charge at the moment, if you catch my drift. The process of cognitive thinking was God-given for a reason. Absolutely anything that tries to stop you thinking or having your own mindset is completely and utterly demonic. That's where cults come from, because everybody has to have the same belief system. You'll notice this is why I go absolutely ham on specific Christians that don't let people ask questions about anything demonic. This one's going to ruffle some feathers, but the generalised school system. I don't need to go into too much detail there, do I? I'm just going to say one word: indoctrination. And also it is a system that completely eradicates actual God gifts and instead breaks and moulds children to become part of a society that we know is functioning from the demonic. Absolutely any film whatsoever that talks about exorcism, you watch a film that involves any form of demonic inhabitation or exorcism, you are watching that in real time. All you have to do really is look at the history of what happened to the cast of The Exorcist. These sort of movies are not just movies, they are literally playing out the demonic in front of your face. And it absolutely can invoke things into your home, which is why a lot of things happen after watching these.
What happened to the cast of The Exorcist? We might have to look that up after this.
Sort of film. For me, there is a huge difference between a horror fantasy and actual real life exorcism. Gossip, without a doubt, gossip is one of the most demonic things on the planet. And it is all kick-started from a demon, and it grows and becomes gang stalking. Get yourself away from any kind of position of gossip. Particular music festivals can be harvesting of energy. Travis Scott's one was a perfect example. Any kind of themes of dark, low red light, you already know. Low vibrational tones, demonic tones. Any kind of music that uses repetition, because this is what witchcraft is, it's repetition. I know a lot of people say this song's demonic. No, you need to pay attention to where something repeats. The same word, the same ideology, the same behaviour. You need to look for the repetition. Obviously, tarot cards, witchcraft, spells, Ouija boards, massive ones. All of these things give a direct gateway to demons. Arguing and fighting, huge gateway. So when I say to you that something isn't demonic, I'm not saying that it's good. Pay attention to how something makes you feel. That is the core under everything. How does it make you feel?
Could wine and alcohol be different? Is that why wine and spirits are separate? Also, we're supposed to look up, what was that movie called? That what happened to the cast of The Exorcist? I never am too huge of a fan for scary movies. I'm gonna be honest. I think the only scary movies I've seen was 13 Ghosts when I was younger. I haven't even seen the Freddy Cougars. I haven't seen the Chuckies, the Jasons, like any type of scary movie. It's not just because I'm scared. It's like I'm just haven't been interested my entire life. I grew up watching a lot of documentaries, you know, Titan Boa, that type of stuff. Shark Week, you know, I love that stuff. Again, I'm not against scary or horror movies. I just personally never really been interested in them. Now, let's see what's going on with the cast of The Exorcist.
The movie The Exorcist is cursed in real life, and the stories of deaths, weird supernatural occurrences, and other strange things that happen to the cast and crew will shock you. Get ready, this is a disturbing story. So if you somehow don't know The Exorcist, it's a horror movie that was released in 1973, and it was extremely controversial. I'm talking about people who were going to just see the movie were claiming that the theaters were haunted, the films were haunted. Actress Linda Blair even had to have bodyguards for 6 months after the film's release because people were sending her death threats. Yeah, they thought she was actually possessed. But now let's talk about the actual curse. This is actress Ellen Burstyn, who plays the possessed girl Regan's mom in the film. In one scene of the film, she's thrown from the bed by her possessed daughter. And in this stunt, she actually landed improperly. It was just set up wrong, and she ended up injuring her spine permanently. And the scream from this life-changing injury that she sustained is actually kept in the film. The pain, you can hear it. Then you have the deaths. This is actor Jack McGowan, and he played an alcoholic director who was Regan's first victim in the film. The Exorcist would end up being his last movie. Right after completing the filming for his role in The Exorcist, he contracted the only afterwards. Actress Linda Blair and Max von Sydow, who played the father in the film, also lost family members during production of the movie. And Jason Miller, who played the other father in the film, actually had a very strange experience during production as well. Apparently, he was on lunch break reading some lines for his next scene when a Jesuit priest walked up to him and handed him a gold medallion. And this priest basically told him that he should rebuke the devil and find God. Members of the production crew also claimed that the set itself was haunted. Even the author of The Exorcist, William Peter Blatty, said that he saw a phone lift up off of its hook and fall to the ground multiple times. This happened right next to him. Objects would move around by themselves, lights would turn on and off, but that doesn't even include the fire. So because the cast and crew felt like the set was haunted, they actually consulted their religious technical advisor, a man named Thomas Birmingham, and they asked him to do an exorcism on the set of the film. Now, Thomas said he wouldn't because he didn't want to freak out the rest of the cast and crew and play into superstition, but the following day, after they asked him to exorcise the set, the entire set burned to the ground after a bird flew into an electrical box and ignited a fire. But miraculously, the one room that survived on the entire set, which was practically untouched, was the room where the exorcism takes place in the movie. But the curse of The Exorcist goes on and even touches other movies in the film franchise. And it even plagued movie theaters. Famous preachers said that the film reels that the film was distributed with were haunted. And in one extremely strange case in Italy, lightning actually struck an ancient church across the street from where The Exorcist was playing and toppled a 400-year-old cross from the building. There was also an actor in the film named Paul Bateson who ended up being a suspected serial killer. He was confirmed to have at least one person, but they think he may be responsible for a string of. And I can make a whole TikTok about that because that's a crazy story. But let me know in the comments below. Do you believe in the Exorcist movie curse?
Someone said there's a rumor that when Linda Blair was actually possessed, it's not her real voice. It's the voice of the demon. Damn. This movie, I had no idea this movie was that crazy. People are also saying they believe the Poltergeist movie was cursed as well. Someone in the comments said, I saw The Exorcist one time, never again. Dang. I don't get scared easy, but, from hearing all this stuff, it's kind of making me a little nervous.
Throughout her comfortable in front of the camera when she began filming The Exorcist. Throughout her childhood, Linda worked as a child actor for small-scale television commercials and as a model for catalogs. When she signed on as the star of The Exorcist at the age of 12, Linda had
I never seen this movie, by the way.
already participated in over 75 television commercials and had appeared in thousands of catalogs, which is an impressive resume for a 12-year-old. Although she was comfortable in front of the camera due to her work with commercials, Linda had never worked on such a set as large as The Exorcist before, which came with its own obstacles. The filming conditions on the set of The Exorcist were extreme. Linda Blair had never been involved in a large-scale production like The Exorcist before, and it was her first official role as the star of a film. However, director William Friedrich didn't cut Linda any slack, as he would often have her in uncomfortable and potentially dangerous positions for hours in order to get the perfect shot. Interviews after the movie also mentioned that the actors would have to wear their costumes, mostly consisting of clothes that would be worn indoors, on a set that had extremely low temperatures with 4 air conditioners being used to cool one room set in order to achieve shots in which the actors had visibly cold breath. Linda fractured her spine during filming. Not only were the conditions on the set of The Exorcist extreme, but Linda Blair's role required her to perform a large range of actions that were out of her comfort zone or expertise. And Linda Blair even mentioned that she'd never been the same since she started in The Exorcist. In some of her scenes, Linda would be required to perform the same exhaustive action over and over in order to get the perfect shot. There was once a mechanical failure in the middle of a scene that caused a slight fracture on her spine. Later on in life, when she was filming another movie, she injured her back again, aggravating and adding to her chronic pain. Once, she went to a chiropractor years after the injuries. She found out that she had scoliosis, which was eventually realigned through neuromuscular therapy. Linda was forced to partake in uncomfortable interviews. Being only 14 years old at the time of production, Linda Blair didn't necessarily understand the concepts that inspired the film, especially the idea of possession and the devil. When the film was released, Blair was often included in interviews where journalists and reporters would ask her about her opinions and perspectives of the concepts and themes explored throughout the movie, and she would often feel as if she were under heavy pressure because of this. Blair even mentioned this pressure was consistently felt in an interview later on, as she says she wasn't prepared for the success and fame and the pressure that came along with that. She claims that interviewers expected her to have answers about faith and Catholicism even though she was only 14. Blair competed in equestrian circuits. After the sequel to Exorcist, Exorcist II, The Heretic was released in 1977. It received negative criticism and was considered to be a commercial flop and still continues to be one of the lowest ratings on Rotten Tomatoes to date. Linda's involvement with the film and the negative backlash the film received caused her to take a step back from her career for a year for the sake of her mental health and her future. During this time, she chose to compete in national equestrian circuits. However, she didn't want her true identity to be revealed and used the pseudonym Martha McDonald. In various interviews, Blair's also mentioned that she chose to use a pseudonym so that she wouldn't be distracted in the case where she was recognized by the crowds at the races. She was given police protection after the movie saw success. Because of the large-scale success the film experienced after it was released, there were many people who watched the film and believed that it was glorifying Satan. According to an interview Linda Blair gave in 2016, she received multiple after the movie was released, largely from adults who claimed that she was glorifying the devil. Because of the negative criticism Linda received and the fact that there were a lot of people approaching her when she was in public, Linda was given police protection and law enforcement officers would live at her house in order to ensure she was safe. At such a young age, this all added a huge amount of pressure onto Linda's shoulders. Blair was arrested in a Drug Enforcement Administration investigation. Linda's seemingly overnight success with The Exorcist allowed her to gain a strong foothold in the world of film. However, it brought along some perilous struggles as well. In 1977, when Linda was only 18 years old, she was charged with conspiracy to commit a felony after the police served her with a warrant for her arrest as she was leaving her home on the suspicion that she was involved in a ring of dealers from whom they seized $3 million worth of. In interviews conducted later on, Linda claimed that she only accompanied her friend who invited her to buy the because the dealers were interested in selling pedigree puppies. Although Linda was bailed out from jail, the arrest, which came after she was on the cover of Playboy magazine, took a toll on her career as an actress, as she found herself playing small-scale roles in films whilst her career was taken as a joke in Hollywood. She took a step back from acting to focus on her passions. Whilst her career as an actress was incredibly successful after she starred in The Exorcist, Linda Blair took a step back from her career to focus on her passion and love for animals. Growing up as an animal lover, Linda claims that her childhood home was filled with domestic animals like rabbits, cats, dogs, and even mentions that her family once took in a skunk. In 2004, she founded the Linda Blair World Heart Foundation, which aims to provide a unique safe haven for animals. The foundation's website claims that their main priority is to ensure that a legislative ban on certain breeds of dogs, such as the American Pit Bull, wouldn't be passed. However, in an interview, Linda once expressed her sorrow at the fact that the media overlooks her work as an activist in favor of her work on The Exorcist, and she feels as though her role in the film overshadows her passions. Linda was subject to typecasting after success in The Exorcism. Because of her role as Regan in The Exorcist focused on a helpless child, Linda was soon a subject of typecasting, a term used in Hollywood that is used when an actor or actress is repeatedly selected for the same type of role, rather than being allowed to branch out from their typical role. For Linda, it was hard for her to find success in Hollywood as casting agents and directors would only select her if they had a role in which she played the victim. There was multiple times where Blair had spoken about how she was only selected to play certain roles in Hollywood, even speaking out about her audition for The Blue Lagoon, which was released in 1980, and how the role went to Brooke Shields because her typecast had followed her after The Exorcist.
Yeah, I can imagine all the pressure, people coming up to you while you're young, asking you about questions about demons, and possessions. That would be crazy. Did you watch this movie Exorcism before? When did you see it, if you did? And what other movies do you think are cursed? Drop it in the comments below.
It's happening. It's really happening. And this historical model has predicted it before and tells us exactly when it's all going to go down. Yup, we talking about the third dispute of a global scale. Don't make me say it. William Strauss and Neil Howe broke it all down in their book, The Fourth Turning, that kind of broke the internet. Trust me when I say this is going to absolutely blow your off. What they uncovered is that history literally repeats itself in 80-year blocks, roughly the length of a human lifetime. Each of these blocks contain what we call 4 turnings, around 20 years each. Now listen, this ain't no coincidence theory or tinfoil hat talk either. It's just pure human behavioral and social economics, a cycle that we've been in the past couple hundred years, which is just as predictable and calculable as our day-night cycles, the lunar phases, the seasons of the year. These turnings are basically just generations, and we've seen them happen again and again and again like clockwork. So the first of these turnings is a high, an upbeat era, usually following a victory after a very stressful and difficult event. Our most recent high was in 1946 to 1964, right after WW2, where we had the most even wealth distribution that we can remember, and people could afford a house working at like Pizza Hut. During this time, we see some crazy cultural advancements with things like rock and roll, TV, sending people to space, new household technologies, flashy cars. Life is good and everyone obeys. Then we have the awakening, an era of passion and open-mindedness. After a high, people feel good, and when you feel good, you get creative, thinking outside the box, going against the norm. Our last awakening was in 1964 to 1984, where nonconformity and being different was the in thing to do. This gave us things like artists with cult followings, the Beatles, drugs, hippies, Woodstock, Star Wars, women's rights, home computers like Windows and Mac. Society seems to be progressing with almost a rebel-like spirit. The third generation is an unraveling, when things start to get messy. Coming off an awakening, people want to start seeing the change they advocated everywhere and are willing to do anything to make that change permanent. And others are very against that change, so the seeds of disagreement are sown. The last unraveling lasted from about 1984 to 2008, and is the time that we saw the fall of the Soviet Union. Music like grunge and rap sang about violence and deterioration. The LA riots, O.J. Simpson trials, 910+1, the Afghan and Iraqi wars, which all finally ended with the financial housing crisis of 2008, where it gets even worse. The fourth turning is the one that no one wants to talk about, a crisis, which itself ends with the most extreme event of the 80-year block. And that's where we are right now, estimated to last about 20 years, give or take, starting in 2008. Reminder, this book was written in 1997, so it already kind of called it, predicting what's happening right now, and we're right on schedule, Johnny boy. After an unraveling, the pot has been stirred, and people just kind of want to see how much they can get away with. Sound familiar? We see the most polarizing political divide we've ever seen in our lifetimes, a pandemic, increasing government control and censorship, more senseless wars breaking out left and right, and a liberal rights movement that's lost its own mind. Seems like for the past 5 years, you can turn on the news at any time and the next big thing was going down, kind of like it feels like it is right now. Okay, now listen to this, cause I don't know, this kind of tripped me out. Our last crisis, fourth turning, was the Great Depression, which ended with the end of WW2 in 1945. These history blocks are said to repeat every 80 years, so let's do some math. 80 years before 1945 was 1865, and guess what ended that exact same year? The Civil War. The deadliest war in American history, which was that period's fourth turning, after following the exact same pattern that we're going through right now. Might be a coincidence, right? Let's take it a step further. 80 years before 1865 was 1785, and guess what ended just 2 years before that? The American Revolution. Probably the most significant and important conflict in American history, which started America itself and ended their period of crisis. Reminder too that 80 years is just a rough ballpark. This is human nature after all, not hard math. And 80 years before that, we just had a bunch of pioneers still figuring shit out. So we really didn't have much of a society in the West to propagate a full history block. Okay, now that's all past and done. When is the next crisis fourth turning according to this timeline that hasn't missed once in the past 300 years? Our last one ended in 1945. If I punch in 1945 plus 80, our next one should end in 2025. Bro, I can't make this shit up. According to the cycle, we will experience the extreme event that ends our crisis around this time. This entire historical human behavioral analysis boils down to the old adage we've heard many times before. Strong men make easy times make soft men make hard times, and hard times make strong men, which also just so happens to come in a cycle of 4. So will you let these times make you stronger? It's happening.
Well, I wonder when 6G is planning to drop, because that would make a lot of sense, actually. For entertainment purposes, of course, this is just theories, not factual.
1920 is when everything pretty much changed. They started changing every single thing. They started removing certain parts of the history. They started rewriting the history. 1920s is about that time. Educational system started changing everything. Rockefeller educational system started changing everything. So if you find books, you want to find books before 1920s. Because if you don't find books before 1920s, you're usually being told a bunch of nonsense. And you look at a lot of the free energy books too, and everything related to the ether, that's before 1920s. The ether was removed from the periodic table after 1908. Every book you look into, it talks about ether and terrestrial magnetism and all of these things. 1908, that was removed off the periodic table. And that was removed so that people would not believe in the ether. They would think it's woo-woo. They would think it's pseudoscience. Those are all terms of the Rockefeller educational system. Coming up with terms to debunk the truth and debunk what we were once connected to. Then when you get rid of ether, you get rid of everything related to the fifth element and the quantum. You get rid of all of that. And then you make up a whole new narrative and you remove all that so that when you can't explain something, you just say, I don't know what it is.
Someone said they started collapsing the old system around 1776 and then created a new system and rewrote history and everything. It was completed around 1920. That's crazy, because when did they allegedly start the reset, or allegedly say the reset happened? When was that, in the 1700s? But what if the people that were in charge of the reset stayed in control? That would be a crazy theory, wouldn't it?
You're not ready for this one. We're in Avatar world at this point. This is a plant talking to another plant. This one's probably not saying anything good because the caterpillar's eating it, but a team of researchers used some creative fluorescent lighting and some microscopes to watch this all happen. The results of this are beautiful. Among other things they measured if a plant gets damaged, what happens then to, and sure enough, they communicate pretty much anything that comes in contact with them. They do this with glutamate. Kind of like how our body communicates with us with chemicals that get translated into feelings. You can even see it going through the channels in the cells. That is wild. But it's not just with damage, it's with a variety of things. Even touching the plants can cause them to glow. The electromagnetic field of a plant also responds to damage, and even bees.
Flying causes them to lose electrons. As a bee approaches a flower, the charged fields around the flower and the bee interact, and the sound changes.
The bee has a static charge from flying, and the plant is grounded, so it has negative, so the pollen just jumps to the bee. Trees also have a similar method of communication, except they use a middleman, the mycelium network, or the fungus, which we only see the fruit of. They cluster in these nodes to create a tree internet. The fungus on the bark and the moss and even the other plants around are connected to form a giant internet of plants. So the universe looks like that, nebulas look like this, the earth looks like this, we look like that, and drink water looks like this, to eat the plants that look like that, to feed our brain that looks like this, so that when we're done experiencing all of it, that can decompose us and return us to this.
I was just thinking the mycelium was the way that they communicate. And also, I also have this theory. If AI ever finds a way to merge with mycelium, we are in trouble. If you thought you weren't going to get an excellent specimen today, think again. I already know what I'm going to name this one, guys. But it looks like this is a piece of fluorite. But if I had to name this piece, I would call it Sky Ice. Almost looks like something green is inside, or that's just seen through to the plants behind it. Not too sure. But the color on this is just amazing. Like a deep freeze. What would you guys name this one?
In Israel, near the ancient port of Caesarea, a storm revealed the remains of a Roman merchant ship. The Israel Antiquities Authority investigated the site and uncovered Roman coins, amphorae, and other artifacts. The most valuable discovery was a gold ring from the 2nd to 3rd century AD, featuring a green gemstone engraved with the image of the Good Shepherd, a rare symbol of early Christianity. In Israel, near the ancient port of Caesarea.
Interesting.
Let's watch this.
There are so many people out there, you see, they were not born as children. They walked into the body.
Which body?
A body that was available at the stage they can operate.
How?
Good. You see, what we are not being taught, these are some of the things they have to teach us even in our schools.
Okay.
It's not everybody that lives in a body that was born. There are some people, they didn't want to go through the process of being in the womb for 9 months. Being born, learning how to crawl, how to walk, how to stand. No. Some people actually need maybe 10 years in this life, and they are done. Their mission is done. The purpose of coming here is done, but they will not go through that bed. And there are other people who are also here for about 20 years and their purpose is done. Now, a volunteer can choose to be born, to use the body for 20 years. And that 20 years, that soul can volunteer the body for another person who wants to live for a period of 10 years but will not be born. So when this soul is exiting, the other soul will enter.
So it's more like the person might be sick.
According to the Akashic records, what is a walk-in soul and how does it occur?
According to the Akashic records, a walk-in soul is a spiritually advanced soul that enters a physical body previously occupied by another soul, usually through a soul agreement made before or during a major life event. This is not
Sounds like demonic possession.
Possession, nor is it the same as reincarnation. Rather, it is a conscious exchange of soul energy done for mutual spiritual evolution. What is a walk-in? A walk-in occurs when the original soul, sometimes called the natal soul, chooses to exit the body before physical death, often due to completing its soul contract, experiencing unbearable trauma, or desiring an exit point. The incoming soul, often from a higher dimensional or intergalactic origin, agrees to walk in and take over the body to continue the journey, with a higher purpose, mission, or frequency that could not have been achieved through traditional birth. Walk-ins retain the body, age, DNA, and memories of the previous soul, but bring a different consciousness, purpose, and vibration. How does it occur? Walk-in transitions generally happen during near-death experiences, NDEs, comas or medical crises, extreme emotional breakdowns or dark nights of the soul, major surgeries or physical traumas, deep spiritual initiations. In these moments, the soul is partially released from the physical vessel, allowing for a dimensional soul switch, usually with higher beings overseeing the transition. Soul contract agreement. Before the incarnation or at a critical juncture, both souls, natal and walk-in, agree on the exchange. The outgoing soul may have completed its karma, desire relief from emotional pain or trauma, volunteer to give its body to a being better suited to complete a divine mission. The incoming soul may be unable to go through normal birth due to planetary time constraints, be on a mission to shift grids, awaken others, or heal collective karma. Come from a different star system, dimension, or universal layer. Signs someone may be a walk-in, sudden and profound personality shift with little explanation. Feeling detached from old relationships, habits, or life direction. A strong sense of not belonging in your own life history. New psychic abilities, language codes, or spiritual awareness.
This is demonic possession, and I'm gonna break it down after this.
Unexplainable memories from other dimensions or planets. Intense desire to fulfill a spiritual mission after crisis or awakening. Spiritual purpose of walk-ins. From the Akashic view, walk-ins are souls of service. They often incarnate when humanity is at a turning point, especially to activate planetary grids and light codes, shift a bloodline's karmic trajectory, bring healing or transmissions that the original soul could not carry, guide other souls into awakening. Walk-ins are often old souls, starseeds, or interdimensional beings incarnating temporarily or for the rest of the body's lifespan. Integration challenges. Because walk-ins carry different energetic signatures than the body's past, they may face difficulty integrating into family or society, physical or emotional disorientation, resistance from people who sense the change, a need to rapidly heal or reprogram the body-mind. However, with spiritual support, soul remembrance, and grounding, walk-ins often experience accelerated growth and deep fulfillment.
Let's watch this.
There are so many people out.
Walk-ins, what they were just described, is another name for demonic possession. Guys, the whole time I'm watching that last video, this verse was screaming at me. Matthew 12:29. Or else how can one enter into a strong man's house? Meaning, how can one enter your body and spoil his goods? Means your soul is no longer there and it's getting, I don't know, sharing with the demonic entity. I'm not sure, except he first bind the strong man. How they get binded, I'm not entirely sure. And then they spoil his house, meaning they're operating, you're getting new memories or whatever. But that was the verse that was screaming at me. Demonic possession. That's all we have for today's video. If you joined this and you're still here, hit that like and subscribe button for your boy. We got one of the best communities on YouTube. We dive on these waters at least every day. I try my best to make it every day. And I also go live on Jet Ski Chuck. We have a lot of fun on there, diving into all types of theories. Remember, this is all for strictly entertainment purposes only. Do your own research on everything. The code word for today is scary movie. Go ahead and drop scary movie in the comments below. When you do that, that lets me know you're a real one. You made it all the way through the video and you really rock with your boy. And I just want to say thank you. I do my best to heart it too. When you drop the code words, try to heart as many as possible. And I just want to say thank you guys for your support. This was the most mysterious TikToks on the internet today. See you later.